going to be one more video on the Geopy and Folium modules in Python. Geopy is a module in Python that provides you with a range of services for geocoding address names into latitude and longitude data. And Folium is a module that gives you access to functionality for creating map-based plots. And in previous videos already demonstrated how you can, for example, create a simple map using Folium, how you can geocode a single location or a list of locations into location objects, which is also a Geopy data type containing longitude and latitude data. And I also demonstrated in previous videos how you can create marker plots for various locations from, for example, a CSV file. In this video, I want to show one more thing you can do with Folium, and that I like to do a lot, is heat mapping. So you can create spatial heat maps for representing the intensity of some metric of interest for your spatial data. And I go here through a coding example that you can also find on my blog. If you want to access the code, you can click on the link in the video description and it will take you directly to the blog post containing the content of this video. What I'm doing here is I'm using again pandas for reading in the CSV file and creating a data frame, and then Folium for creating the map, as well as the Folium plugins package with the heatmap class that allows me to create a heat map and add that heat map to a Folium map. I'm then reading in the heatmap CSV file, which will be read in as a data frame, and this data frame contains some country names, some city names, and some street names in separate columns. I'm summing up those columns to strings representing the addresses, which will add an additional column to my data frame. Then I'm importing here Geopy. Geopy provides me with, for example, the nominatim constructor for giving access or returning a handler for a service that allows me to geocode data. And this is what I'm doing here. Now I have several locations. So I have several addresses. What I want to do here is I want to use the apply method of the pandas data frame that will apply a certain function to every row or every entry in a column. In this case, I'm applying the geocode function from the service handler provided by nominatim and Geopy to every address in my data frame. Now, as this will use some API for geocoding the data, and that API is connected with some rate limit, I want to use the rate limiter, which is also provided by Geopy under this sub package. So this line of code will geocode every single address in my data frame and return a so-called location object, which is a Geopy data type. I'm also displaying here the header of the data frame resulting from this workflow. And as you can see, it contains here, for example, the address strings, and then here in a separate column, the coordinates column that contains in each row a location object. And this location object contains, amongst other things, longitude and latitude data, which are attributes of this Geopy location data type. To make this more clear, I'm here extracting the longitude and latitude scores of all the locations in my data frame using a list comprehension. And if you look at this list comprehension, what I'm doing is I'm looping through the coordinates column, and for the longitudes list that I'm creating here, I'm accessing the longitude attribute of every location object, storing that into a separate list, and I'm doing the same thing here for the latitudes. So this is showing you here how I'm accessing all the Geopy location objects in this column and extracting the longitude and latitude attribute values. Then I'm using the statistics module. Statistics module allows me to calculate the mean In this case, I want to calculate the mean longitude and latitude scores, since I want to create a Folium map, which I'm doing here, and I want to center that Folium map around the mean latitude and mean longitude score of my data set. I'm setting a zoom level to be 40.5. Now this is something that is a good zoom level for this example, but in your case it might be that you need to set a different zoom level. And then I'm using here the heat map constructor. Now this is a small mistake from my side. I didn't import the heat map constructor down here. I already imported it up here. But you can see this is this constructor that I imported from the plugins package contained by the Folium module. And this will basically use the data frame that I have here and use the metric value entries as the intensity of my heat map. And the result of this is a heat map object that I can add using the add_to method provided by Folium to the map object. And then I can display my map, which is the final outcome of this workflow, and results in the heat map you can see here. So a nice way of visualizing spatial data, if you have some metric value that has some spatial attribute or property, then this might be an interesting way of displaying your data to your audience. I use it a lot. I like it. I think it has a great communication value and often has the effect of impressing the audience when you show heat maps like this. If you want to look into it, you can click the link in the video description, and as I said, you will have access to the coding example I went through here, so basically my Jupyter notebook.